The Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
The Honest Edit Podcast. Unpacking the truth about life's messes, one honest conversation at a time. With your host, Scarlett, the no-fluff, get-it-done mindset coach, and Holly, your go-to for all things practical, balancing chaos with compassion. Featuring Evan, the card guy.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Honest Edit. Holly and Scarlett here. We have our first guest all the way from LA. Welcome, Evan Alberto, the card guy.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
And I'm very excited that you came in and you're on our podcast. And I've always loved your story. We've done some projects together. That's how we know each other. We've worked on a few charity projects, actually. Shout out Charity Road.
Charity Road.
And your story is wonderful. I've heard a little bit about it before, but I can't wait to hear a bit more in-depthly this time around. But you basically were aiming to build a social media platform around your card tricks and illusions, which is incredible, and focus mostly on that. But while you were in the process of building that ginormous audience, by the way, you felt a decline in your mental and physical health. It was like you were devoting so much time to your work and your passion that you sort of kind of got lost in that. And so I feel like a lot of times for our clients, they don't want to know how to get started. They get overwhelmed very easily. They want to take on so much. And so they don't typically prioritize. And we do the same thing. I mean, we have to check ourselves too. And actually, I want to hear your story too, because I'm like, all right, well, what was your method? What did you do? And so can you share a little bit, one, just kind of like going into your story, and then we could just kind of like pick your brain on all the like the how-tos and how'd you get out of that and how'd you deal with that and all the things.
Yeah, so I'm really bad at balance. Like that's historically, oh my gosh, historically I'm just so bad at it. I'm ADHD all the way. So when I focus on something, it's very hard for me to focus on anything else, right? So when it became my priority to do the social media thing, and a little backstory there, I was basically a student in college. I was studying kinesiology to go into like physical therapy.
Oh.
And I was studying that.
Hey, my back hurts.
Honestly. But I was studying for that, and then TikTok came out, and I had done magic my whole life practically. So out of boredom in my college dorm, I'm like, let me get on this app and do card tricks there, see if I can gain a following. And I posted, first few videos didn't really do much, but once a couple of them hit, I got addicted, and that was my focus. I was like, I'm going to build an audience. Maybe that'll lead to money, right? So I was so focused on that. It ended up paying off. I ended up dropping out of school, fully going into the content thing. Very quickly went from broke college student to making more money than I knew how to handle. And that's a whole other story because I ended up basically losing all of it. So I had to start over. But in that whole process, you know, my physical health, my mental health, all of my focus was on this content stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started gaining a bunch of weight. I started losing relationships. It was just my whole focus was, I just need to get bigger. I need to get bigger. I need to get bigger. And it wasn't even out of vanity. It wasn't like I need to look a certain way. It was, I enjoyed it, right? I enjoyed growing an audience. I think it's a great thing that I was doing. The issue was the lack of balance.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we experience that too, because for resonates, it's huge. It absolutely resonates because we're both business owners and, you know, we own several businesses, we have families, and we tend to like give so much of ourselves that we forget about how to take care of ourselves, like give ourselves self-care, give ourselves the grace that you're not going to get everything done in a day. And then also to find that balance. And that's, I feel like when you're out of alignment and balance, you're going to generally be unhappy. So you can't really even show up for yourself or the audience, or you're feeling depleted and tired. And then it's just like this downward spiral. So how are you? And I find it interesting because I felt like a lot of your online content, and I said this earlier, was more about that balance and the health and the regimens that you were doing and the showing up for yourself and the accountability. And so that's what I was seeing. So I was seeing it come way later down the road in your content. So what got you there? Like, did you make a decision and just one day you decided to alter it? Did you feel like it was a process? Like, how did you get started in sort of finding that balance?
Definitely a process. It's definitely still a process. So For me, I would say it didn't happen overnight. I wish it was overnight because in hindsight, something really important on these platforms, consistency.
Yeah.
Right. Like posting every day, or if not every day, just consistently. Right. So I was doing that. And then it feels like it hit me like a train. One day I woke up and I was like, I'm overwhelmed. Like this has been all my energy. I need to do other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then because how my brain is and I'm not good at balance, I almost abandoned my platforms. Like if you look at my profiles, there was probably like a year, maybe even a year and a half that I barely posted anything. It was very much, I would get messages like, where are you? Like you were on my feed every day. Like what's going on? And that time was me focusing on my mental health, my physical health. And it was very important, but it went from one side to the other, right? It was like I was neglecting all that stuff to build my career, but now I'm only focusing on that stuff and neglecting my career.
So it's like you had a big, major burnout, really.
Huge burnout. I went very hard at the social media thing for 2 years. I want to say 2 years. I was building my business, got a lot of cool opportunities, met celebrities, made money, all that stuff. And then when I realized, I was like, oh shoot, I got to focus on this other stuff. Yeah. Then it just flipped the other way. So I would say right now, I'm probably the most balanced that I've been. Still a work in progress, but it was very much like a full 180.
Can I ask if this is probably a really vulnerable question, but like,
I love it.
Like when you hit your burnout and hit your wall, like what made you, was it just like one day you woke up and you're like, I don't want to do this, but like I physically can't do this? Like what was your breaking point? Like what did that look like for you?
My breaking point was I had accomplished a lot at an early age that I wasn't expected to, right? So I went from broke college student working as a janitor part-time at a car dealership, making minimum wage, to a year later making my first $1 million. Like it was so fast, and I'm so grateful for that, but I didn't know how to handle that.
Right.
So my breaking point was taking that million, thinking I'm doing the right thing, investing it in the wrong things. Next thing I know, I have no money.
Yeah.
So I blew all my money that I had made in my heyday of being an influencer. I still don't think that's going to be like my prime, right? I had so much time to go and I'm still right. But so far, up until this point in my life, the money that I made from my best moments, I blew. So that was my breaking point where, to get vulnerable, it was like all this hard work I did these last couple of years, it feels like it's gone. It's gone. That was the breaking point where it's like, maybe I focus on something else. And honestly, I believe everything happens for a reason. I think maybe if I kept that money and my business kept growing, I would have kept going down the cycle of being unhealthy, being, pushing relationships out of my life, all that stuff. So in hindsight, I think it had to happen because it made me focus less on money. It was like, okay, I know what it's like to have money. Now I don't have it and it'll take a while to get it again. Or so let me focus on other things. So it was kind of important. It was important in hindsight. And I think right now I'm somewhere in between.
And I think we get to that point. It's like we live in a society where it's like failure is such a bad thing. But I feel like we need to crash or burn. We need to hit rock bottom sometimes. I feel like out of that, it really forms who we are and our character. And I used to be like, I can't fail. I got to keep going. And I still kind of have that mindset. But at the same time, there's always something valuable to learn.
Right.
And it shapes your character in a way where, okay, this is not working for me anymore. This is not who I am. This is not me being my highest or my authentic self. So what can I do now to make a change?
Yeah.
And that's where you can make that decision, however it looks. It could be something as simple as, oh my gosh, my house has gotten out of hand, or, oh my gosh, I'm working too much and I'm not focusing on my kids, or however that looks. Like for me, I've lost companies I've literally built a company up and then completely just lost it. And I've crashed or burned in that. But what did I learn out of that? What's the lessons I could take? What can I implement and make different changes and decide and prioritize? So for you and your reflection of, man, this is the most balanced I've ever been. What do you feel like is the difference between then and now? Is it your time management? Is it your priorities? Is it boundaries? Is it like you saying, I'm not going to take on these commitments? Like, what do you feel like is the difference?
This is very counterintuitive to the whole mindset of like the grind, and it's the balance right now. And I'm still working on it. It's not perfect, but it's definitely better than it was at other points in my life. I would say it's realizing that none of it is that serious. Like, realizing that, okay, if I spend a lot of time, energy, maybe even money on a video and it doesn't perform the way I want it to, I don't make the money back. I still put myself out there. I still try it. I can learn from it, right? So like what you said, like learning from a business failing, I know it's super cliche, but like when they say, failure is learning, right? You can learn. Also, it's like, what scale are you quantifying failure? Like, was that business specifically like a failure? Maybe, but does that mean you're always destined to fail? Does that mean you're a failure? No, it's like, it just means that failed.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So like for me, it's like, I lost $1 million. Does that mean I can never make $1 million again? No. Like it's just the idea of failure is like you failed something.
Right.
You didn't fail like on a bigger scale, unless you let it, right? Unless you died.
It's kind of funny that both of your points about failure, because I'm a mom with a 5-year-old, we talk about failure in our house, and I tell my kid I fail every day. I mean, that's how we learn, right? And that's what I tell him. Like, if you can't put this Lego together, or you don't write your A the right way, or whatever, like, failure is just a part of life. And so I try to have a different, mindset in my household of it. Like, it's okay, because that's how we learn. With relationships, with, taping a dance show, with stories, with, cooking a new recipe. But I think that as we become adults and things get much more serious with running businesses and making money and trying to be successful, that we've put so much pressure on ourselves. And I love that you just brought it back down to like, it's not that serious.
True.
Like, I used to work for a company, like a fashion company. And I would say, we're not saving people. We're making plastic that's going to end up in the ocean. It's not that serious. Like, and then chill the fuck out. Yeah, it's going to be okay. So I love that you just taking it back down to like putting yourself out there. Like, that seems like a priority, like a goal for you. Like, if I can get my self-esteem up so I can go and I can put myself out there. And even if what I did wasn't a huge success by whatever measure that looks like to me, I still did it. Like, I'm not a failure. I still did it. And I love that, figuring out like what a failure is to you.
By definition.
Yeah, by definitions, I would say it's very personal. I mean, we have clients all the time that they're constantly apologizing. Constantly. I'm so sorry my house is this. I'm so sorry about this. And they feel like they don't have any control. They feel like a failure. And it's like, it's okay. Like, we all get down on ourselves. We all have peaks and valleys, right? But it's just how you pick yourself up and how you can keep going and trying to be successful again. And again, you can stumble. You're going to hit a rock. You're going to fall on your face. You're going to lose your shoe. You're going to do all these things, but you just have to keep up and keep going. Yeah. That's what's great about your story, is that you like figured out what was important to you and kept going with it.
Yeah, and really within the kind of hiatus you had with the social media platforms, and you were diving into working on yourself physically and mentally, do you feel like there were things that you implemented in your everyday life, that steered you to be focused, that you dedicated yourself to, that these are the how-tos that it was like a method? Like, was there those things that you feel like you can identify now that helped you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say one of the biggest things that has helped me just as a person, like in general, growing, and as translated to business and everything else that I'm doing, is going to the gym. Like, it just getting up every day or most days and going, like getting yourself in the car, driving over there. And I know some people have home gyms, like cool, but just the discipline of doing something, even when you don't want to.
Yes.
That carries over to other things. And there's so much on the internet about like lifting and like, how do I do this and this? And it's like, just exercise in general, right? Like if you walk, it's just doing any sort of physical exercise.
Yes.
It helps your mind. So it's not all about, let me look jacked. It's a lot more.
I've actually been putting that a lot in my mindset coaching, because that I feel like is the same thing I've been saying a lot lately.
Yeah.
Is that, I have health problems. I have a lot of pain management problems. I had a lot of energy problems with like hormone fatigue and stuff. And the number one thing that helped and brought the clarity, brought the energy, brought the focus and the discipline, going to the gym.
Just not getting up. I used to tell my yoga students, like, you made it here. You made it to your mat. If you choose to lay down and take a nap, or you need to play on your phone, or you need to just sit in child's pose, like, you made it here. And that is a goal, like you've achieved something.
Yeah.
So whatever that looks like for you, just getting started and making like one small change. Because once you got to the gym, then you're like, hell yeah, I made it here. I'm here. I might as well go get some cardio in, or I might as well get on the stair climber, or whatever it is. And then you like give yourself some, like, I wouldn't say like fake energy, but like you're motivated to keep going, right? That's awesome. 100%.
But I like how you said it doesn't even have to be the gym, because for me, like going to the gym a year ago, I mean, I laugh for a reason, because that just was not going to happen. And I did the whole, like, I couldn't even walk the damn dog for 2 blocks. And, that's how, like, either in pain or how tired I was or unmotivated, like, pick a word, right? And it all just sort of resonated. But it was just a matter of, okay, I can do these few exercises at home and I can build off of that. And then it got to the point where I was like, man, I really want to work out. I am motivated, but maybe these small workouts, or now I am walking the dog, it's not working out as much as I would like. And then I started going to the gym, and then I hired a trainer who literally kicks my ass every other day. So I'm actually quite sore today. Today was leg day. So I will be sitting for a while, but it's like today is real.
So you sat up and you got to the gym. And then what happened after that?
After starting to go to the gym, I met a lot of like-minded people there. My closest friends now are people I met at the gym. Because it's other people that have the mindset of self-improvement, right? And there's other places to find that, right? I think the gym is just an easy place to find it, because it's everyone going and doing something that's painful. It's not always fun. It's fun sometimes. Like sometimes you get the endorphins and you love it. And the next day you're like, I don't want to be here. Right? So
I'm like,
yeah, right now you're like, oh shoot.
It's about the community.
Yeah, I found some communities. So I found some support of other people who were, doing that, and they were good at doing that. My best friend I met at the gym like 3 years ago, and he pushes me to be better in that area, and he asked me for social media advice. And when I met him, I think he had like 4,000 followers or something, and now he's like almost 100,000, and he's been growing. He texts me all the time like, hey, what do you think of this edit? Like, should I change anything? And we help each other. He helps me with the gym, I help him with social media, and it's just self-improvement like all around. It all plays together. Like it's all tight.
Yeah.
Oh.
So now that you feel like you're balanced and business is good, and you've got like, you kind of out of the valley that you were in, what are some of the things that you do to keep yourself consistent?
I have to force myself sometimes to just get out of the house. I don't know if anyone else resonates, but for me personally, like if I stay in the house, specifically if I stay in my bedroom, I'm lazy. Like, and it's just knowing myself. Some people can work out of their room. I can't work out of my room. If I'm in my room, I just want to lay on the bed and watch TV. Like there's something about just the way I heard someone, I forgot who, some big business person, like they even said like you should never work out of your room. It's like your brain should have the distinction of this is a place for rest. This is a place for decompressing, right? I think for me, it's like it's so loud. It's so clear to me. I don't get stuff done if I'm in my room. I don't know what. So sometimes if I'm not feeling motivated, I don't know what I'm going to film. I don't know what I'm going to do for the day.
Yeah.
Because I'm very spontaneous. That's another thing. I don't really have a schedule. I'm kind of like, I'm going to make a video today. Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do. So I'm just kind of like, let me get out of the house.
But that's being a creative.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the life of a creative.
So for me to balance things, to get the things I need done, I just have to get out of the house. So in the morning, sometimes I'll just turn on my car and just drive. And it puts me in a better space than just being in my room, just like ruminating, like, what should I do today? And that's not a good idea, because I can just, analysis paralysis is huge for me. Like if I think too much, I won't do anything. So I just have to get out, even if it's just like drive to Starbucks, get a coffee that's way overpriced. That just puts me in a better space.
Yeah, how much is coffee out there in LA? Like $10?
Actually, like $8. Like it is actually like $8, sometimes $9 for like a normal ass coffee.
I mean, Starbucks is expensive.
To be fair,
LA.
To be fair, most of the time I just get coffee in my house. Yeah, I save so much. But once in a while I'll go to Starbucks.
I love the leaving the house though. So whenever my kid was little and it was COVID and we had been inside forever, I was like, I gotta go somewhere. I was like doing like Marketplace, and I remember I bought this like box of dinosaurs that were like 40 miles away just so I could leave the house for the day. So it's like getting a different, like a change of scenery, like just getting out of the funk, out of your like safe space where you could just go back and close the door and turn the TV on.
Right.
Like just moving out of that space of kind of keeping you stuck. I love that idea. I also like to just like go on a drive sometimes.
Yeah.
And just, it's nice to just change your scenery. Yeah. Do it on a podcast or put on a song. The other day we went down to the river in San Marcos, and I had to go out to like run an errand real fast because I needed to leave the house with all the children. It's like, I have to go to the dollar store. We need new trash bags. And I rolled down the windows and I put on a song, and it was so beautiful. I was like singing, like screaming, singing. And I just felt so much better just having a break, getting myself out. And then I was like, oh, I can do the day with all of these kids in this house. Like I'm going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
I love that. That's such a great point.
Yeah. It's also just knowing yourself. People have different methods. As some people, they're like, I need everything at the exact times that I want them.
So Johanna, yeah, I'm so like, okay, if I'm not up at 5, I get like kind of like panicky, and then I stress out if I'm not at the gym at the 6:30. Yeah, I'm very regimented. So it gets interesting that we all have our different things that work, but it's really just all about, you just said, know yourself. Please expand on that, and then also just getting started.
Yeah, it's important to know yourself, and the only way you can. Aside from therapy, which I advocate for it to everyone, is to learn what makes you happy. Like it's super cliche, but it's true. Like you, regardless of like religious beliefs of like what happens after, like that's up for debate. But what isn't is you got one shot here right now in this form, this earth. Like, why would you not seek happiness, right? Whatever that is for you. So for me, it's like, what makes me happy? Not structure. Structure doesn't make me happy. For someone else, it keeps them at peace. It keeps them like, like you were saying, like you want everything like that because it works for you. For me, that stresses me out. For me, when I wake up, I basically make a to-do list for the day. Mm-hmm. As long as I get them all done before I go to bed, I'm good. So I don't care the order. Yeah. I don't care when. I just have to get it done.
Now, do you feel like you have to get everything done on that list? Because we've got people, and even ourselves, we'll make a 30-page list, for the day. So do you feel like you need to get all of that done, or do you prioritize, okay, I'm just going to get these 3 things done today, and if I get these done, I'm going to feel accomplished, and anything else is just like a bonus?
Yeah, I will put everything that I want to get done on that list. But in my head, I have ones that are higher priority, right? So like for today, it's like be on this podcast, film a video, research some crypto stuff because I'm very heavily invested there. So there's a few things that I have to do. Yeah. And, for something like this is at a specific time. So it's like that's certain. No, obviously structure is needed when eating with people and stuff like that. But in general, like if I didn't have a time commitment for something, I'm all over the place. And I don't know. It's like sometimes it's been good. Sometimes it hasn't worked in my favor. I think it's just finding balance like everything else.
Right.
I love how you're feeling yourself that freedom too.
Yeah. I'm glad to be able to have it.
I feel like before I had Max, I had a lot more freedom. And I think it was so nice to be able to just decide what I wanted to do for the day. And I think as becoming a mom and having to readjust to having to be on for someone all of the time. And then also like I have my own priorities. I have my own things to do. And I think that's why I gravitated so much to running my own business. So I could decide what I want to do, who I want to work with, who I don't want to work with, like what my schedule during the day. I thrive on that. My husband's very regimented, like Scarlett. Like he needs his routine. He is a creature of habit. And I think that finding those things that work for you, and like Scarlett took a personality test to figure out she should have been an organizer. And so I think there's so many different, ways to do that work for yourself. And if you can find and afford a therapist to go do that, I feel like that's help for everyone. But I love that you've been successful being different, where our culture says, no, you have to do your time blocks. You have to have your habits. Like you figured out like, no, that's not good for me. This is what's good for me. And you've been able to like grow and find the best balance of your life now. That's huge.
Sure. And being so regimented is really not always the answer. Like I've been editing these podcasts. I've been running a couple of businesses. And yesterday I was just like, I'm not doing a damn thing when I go home. Sometimes it's just all about, like I said, knowing yourself. And I don't want to crash and burn. I don't want to get too exhausted to where like I wouldn't have been able to do this episode today, right? So I finally was just like, you know what? I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to kind of follow up on some things. I'm going to have dinner with my family. I'm going to watch a show with my kid and my mother-in-law. My husband's out of town. And then after that, I'm going to go to bed early. And I was so excited about and all the things that I still needed to do, guess what? They still needed to be done. I could just do it tomorrow. It's really not done. Look at me coming full
serious. I feel like during COVID too, I think like COVID was a lot. I like learned a lot because again, I was becoming a mom. I was like doing all these new things. I felt like the world was falling apart, yada, yada. But it's like I stopped answering my phone. I was like, I don't know where my phone is. Like, I'm trying to keep this kid alive. Like, I stopped like letting other people's time be my job or like it's like, oh, I have a voicemail. I'm like, I have like 87,000 voicemails right now. Like, you can't leave me a voicemail anymore because it's just full. And I feel that it's not great to say as a professional organizer, but it is what it is.
It makes us human.
But it makes us human. I feel like having a timeline, like dealing with everyone else's timeline, what everyone else expects of you, it's like you can't find your happiness there. And that's when you get burnout. Like if you have so many priorities and for other people that you're not giving yourself the time to just relax. Like we coach our clients a lot. Like, okay, yeah, tonight you have homework, you're going to do this, this, and this. And it doesn't have to be that way all the time. If you set up a few things for yourself and you know about yourself, like, hey, in the morning, I'm going to knock out 3 things on my to-do list. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to do it in a time that I feel good doing it. So you're not beholden to what society says or how your parents did it or how your boss does it. Like, I love that freedom and the expression. So you can find your creative expression and you can have that. Like if you're saying Monday, I have to do this trick and Tuesday, I have to do that trick. It wouldn't be fun for you anymore. So like finding the fun in what you're doing, I think is incredible because I feel like you lose that a lot.
Yeah. A way to keep things fun also. I don't know if you two have ever had this issue. For me, this has never been an issue, but I hear from a lot of people, or I observe it because a lot of people don't admit it. Caring what other people think. Like whether you're starting a business or putting yourself out there, even something like this podcast, like people always have shit to say.
Yeah.
And it's always the people that aren't doing anything with their life. And it's like, for me, I've always had that realization. I'm like, if someone hates on me for making a video, for doing this, but I don't give a fuck. Like, I've never cared, but a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know where that stems from for people. I mean, it could be, stuff family related, whatever. But now I'm trying to be a therapist. But, it's interesting to me because when I was in college doing these TikTok videos, everyone was clowning me for it. Like because I lived on campus, all my roommates, like people that lived on my floor were like, you're a grown man. Why are you making like stupid TikToks? Like, what do you do? Grown man, playing 18, 19. But they're like, what? Why are you wasting your time? I'm like, oh, because it could be something one day. Oh, well, like, no, like, what if I listen to them? Like, yeah, oh, for real. No, they've reached back out in these past, 5-6 years, and they're like, hey, we should hang out, and just leave them on red. It's like, people hate for no reason.
Right.
Have you two ever like cared what people think when you're pursuing something that makes you happy, and has it like put a damper on you and like your energy?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, I was in fashion for 14 years, and that's a tough industry. And even as a business owner, I've learned a lot about myself, even in the past year of owning this particular business, is that, at the end of the day, there are better priorities than to care what people think. But it's something I'm having to constantly remind myself every day. I completely avoided doing this podcast. I completely avoided social media for the longest time. But at the end of the day, I got to go, what's more important to me? The social media, the naysayers, what people think, or actually being successful in my business and showing up. And really, it's showing up for myself when I'm showing up for my business. I am people that work with me, work for me, and I need to show up for them as well.
Yeah.
So it's like you've got to think about the priorities. And that kind of goes back to overcommitting and feeling pressured and doing all the things in your everyday life. And it's just sort of like, take a step back, think what's important, prioritize, know yourself, finding that balance. And I mean, I think we're all doing the best we can at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what we talk about every episode anyways.
I love that you asked that, because in my personal life, I'm also I don't care what people do. But me, I'm like breaking the laws, doing the stuff, giving the kid lollipop, like whatever. If you can ask my Miko, I'm the ball.
Breaking the law.
But kids,
I very much I don't care what people think about me. But then when I put my business hat on, I haven't started my social media. And this is my this podcast is my real push of that, because I feel like an imposter. I had that imposter syndrome of like, why would someone want to listen to me? And my friends and family are like, well, you've been doing this for 20 years and you've actually helped a lot of people and you have a lot of good things to say. And so I think we do get stuck in that, what are people going to think about you? And I love that you've reminded me that it doesn't matter, because I'm doing what I want to do. There's always going to be haters out there. And if I could help one person, help one client do one thing, that's what my goal is. And so it's it's very eye-opening for me to sit there and think about that of what I am business-wise or who I am personally. And so you've kind of given me a little push there.
If anything, I can relate, but the opposite. With business, I've never cared what people think. With putting myself out there on social media, I mean, I've always loved cameras. I have home videos of me, playing guitar and asking my dad to record me. I've always liked being on camera. I don't know why. I just have. But personally, yeah, sometimes we all do, to a certain extent here, what people think, right? Yeah, whether it's appearance or whatever. That's just ingrained in our culture. And just as humans, we want validation. That's just the reality. But for whatever reason, when it comes to business specifically, I've never felt that. For you, what is it about the social media or putting yourself out there that was scaring you?
I think it's just the getting started part. When it's also having a voice, you have to have a brand identity, and
especially in our industry, and everything is so perfect, and all the videos are so it's just too much. It's not real, and it's not even real life. We've talked about this before.
Tell you something that has given me comfort when it comes to brand identity. I had this weird, I don't want to say crisis. That's way too serious of a word. But I had this dilemma where I'm my profile name was the card guy because I started just doing card tricks. But then I segued into documenting my weight loss and documenting mental health stuff, and then just making random ass videos that I thought were entertaining. I got a matching tattoo with a stranger. I asked the stranger if they want to go skydiving. We did it an hour later. I like just doing fun stuff for the camera. And there was a moment where I'm but I'm the card guy. Should I just stay in my lane, do card tricks? That's my brand. And then I realized, and what gave me peace, and hopefully what can give you guys peace, and anyone listening who's a creative of any sort, your brand is you. Like, no one else can be you. So when you realize that, it's like there could be 3,000 people trying to do magic on social media. There could be 3,000 people trying to do a podcast just like this, but no one can replace you, your voice, your mindset, your life experience. Like, when you realize, like, oh, all I need to do is be me, it's very assuring. Yeah. But then you can go deeper in that. Like, some people are afraid to be themselves. But it's like, when you realize that all you need to do is just be true to you, no one else can replace you, like, on the market, right? Like, no one else can be another card guy. Someone else could do magic. Someone else could go skydiving with a stranger, but they can't replace what I can give.
Yeah. Sure. Energy. I love that. One of the things I tell all, my kiddos and everyone all the time is, you bring to this world things that no one else can. Oh. And that's like a mantra that I need to tell myself when I'm trying to do that, because I agree with you. Like, you do, yes, like, your videos are so amazing because of your charisma and what you're doing and you wanting to be in front of the camera and that energy. And so, somebody else could do the same thing. And there, of course, are thousands of other organizers, so that no one's going to do it just quite like me. And that's one of the things that, like, I love about this work is when I'm with my clients, it's a special connection. It's a bond that I have with my clients, like something that they needed me, and and I have this feedback all the time. It's like, we needed you. Like, we've had other people, but we needed you. The compassion to sit down and talk, and almost like therapy of like, hey, I know this is hard, but like, we can do this together. And so you've given me a really big confidence boost in that. So thank you for that.
Thank you for the kind words.
That's so cool.
So for words of wisdom, for balance and showing up for yourself, what would you say?
Ooh, for balance and showing up for yourself, I would say just do the things that feel good. Do the things that feel good, but there's a caveat a little bit, because sometimes you can get in the trap of just doing what feels good and you never push yourself out of your comfort zone. Yeah. So that's not what I mean. I don't mean just be complacent.
Right.
It's the balancing act of do what makes you happy, but do it in a way that you're self-improving, right? Whether it's your business or your emotional state or whatever, just seek to just be better. Like, anyone who thinks they have it all figured out or thinks that they have no more growing to do, those are the most ignorant people. Like, everyone has room to grow.
Yeah, so I agree with that. I always say, I feel that there is success in the work that you're employing. I heard that somewhere and I
saw that like 2 days ago.
Yes. I think it's all over Instagram, but that I think resonated with me the most, because at that point you're learning who you are.
Yep.
And you're obtaining new goals and you're just doing it and you're showing up.
Yeah.
So
it's important to show up.
Or a little bit. Great.
I love your story. Do you have something fun to show us?
Yeah.
I didn't even break cards. I know. I'm the card guy and I didn't even break cards.
Tell us where we can find you there.
The card guy on all platforms.
That's amazing.
The card guy. Simple. So Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, Spotify. I have a song. Yeah,
that's. But you have the tattoo now? Let's go get a tattoo.
Don't tell me. I would.
I need a new tattoo. So I know. I've just got a lot of cool ink, y'all.
Yeah, I got some random ones. I got Pikachu. I got Darth Vader. That's Salazar. I got Charmander, another Pokemon. I got a lot of random stuff.
That's cool. I just got my kid a Pikachu squashmallow thing.
Those are great.
It's a whole new thing. It's a whole new deal. It's a whole new world. Well, thank you for joining us on this. We love your story. Thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable with us and telling us, kicking me a little bit.
Yeah.
It kicks me too, because the last thing I'm going to say, I resonated when you said imposter syndrome. Like, even me sitting here, like, talking, I still have so much shit to figure out. Like,
yeah,
I still am finding my balance perfectly and success and what that means and trying to scale my business and failing here and succeeding here. So I feel that. But, I mean, we're all pretty dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's everyone listening too. Like, you're cool in your own ways.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah. Lean into it.
Yeah, to that. That's something like that. It's a good send-off. Lean into it. Cool. All right. So stay tuned to our next episode. We're going to talk about the modern woman and all the challenges that go along with all the things. So,
but we're not going to take it too seriously.
No. No,
And I probably won't be on that one. So